Hello and welcome to Talking Toffee. Now for this week's vlog I've decided to do something a little bit different than the usual. This week I decided to catch up with Mark from efcfeelingblue.com to discuss the Oldham game yesterday, but also to discuss, more importantly, Moyes' contract and the situation regarding Moyes' contract now. Mark founded efcfeelingblue.com, who are a big Everton fan site, so his thoughts and opinions are obviously very valid, and the interview takes about 20 minutes, so if you want to put the kettle on and sit down to watch this and see what Mark's got to say, that'd be fantastic. Also, normal rules apply. Leave your comments below, get involved in discussion, like, share and subscribe to the vlog. Here's the interview. Come on, you Blues. Right, okay, so I'm joined by Mark from efcfeelingblue.com, which is a great site, by the way. I'm going to put a link up on the video now, so click into that and go and get your Everton fix. Worth keeping an eye on what happens on that site. So Mark, thanks for coming on and talking to me.
It's a pleasure, thanks for having me.
No problem. First of all, before we talk about obviously the pressing Moyes contract situation that's taken the headlines this week quite a bit, what did you make of the game yesterday at Boundary Park against Oldham?
Well, obviously, I was frustrated in the end, as I'm sure everyone was, but I felt Oldham did deserve something out of it, especially for the second half display. I thought Everton done well first half. It was unfortunate to go behind with that breakaway goal, but once Anichebe got us back into it, I thought that we could go on and win it. Unfortunately, with Victor coming off at half time, again injured, I don't know. I just thought it changed a bit, really. I know Morales came on and he done okay, but I just felt more confident with Anichebe on the pitch. Just the way he's playing at the moment, he looks likely to score. I'm with you.
Do you know what I thought to myself? I couldn't imagine, say, this time last year feeling so downhearted about Anichebe being injured. You know what I mean? I was like thinking, I'm gutted.
I think that's been a big problem in his. That's a debate for another time, but I think that's a big problem with the injuries and inconsistency. And I think the commentator said last night he's played 20 games this season, which is the first time in his Everton career. But I'm one of the ones who actually I like Anichebe, and I'm not just saying that because he's doing well at the moment. And I've thought to myself in the past, it's never going to work out. But then Moyes sticks with him. I'm thinking, come on, I'm willing him to do well. But like the goal he scored against Villa the other week, that's classic Anichebe. Last night was a great finish. But then I saw him go down in a heat and thinking, he's coming off again. But after that, I didn't feel as confident. But obviously then Jagielka put us ahead. But Oldham grew into the game and the fans got them, just got them going, and they done well. I thought they done well to keep the likes of Baines and that quiet. Jelavic didn't really have much of a sniff, did he? A couple of half chances in there, but in the end, with the keeper at the end and all of that, and that big fella coming off the bench, I thought they deserved it. And fair play to them. It's more revenue for them, but I'm just hoping we can do the job as good as well.
Yeah, so what do you think? Because obviously we've not got the best record against Oldham. I think they're unbeaten against us in the FA Cup, something like that. So what do you think at Goodison?
Well, it'll be different more because it's more of a bigger pitch, bigger stadium. And I can't see us having a massive crowd there, although I'd like to think we would. But they'll be up for it. They've just got this no fear attitude, haven't they? And they'll come and they'll obviously give us a game. But I just think at Goodison will hopefully be too strong for them. Moyes is going to play a strong team. He's done that throughout, hasn't he? And I'm glad, really. But I think we can do the business, and I'm just hoping because then it's the quarters, isn't it? So
definitely.
The draws later today as well, so we'll know. It'll give us an incentive then, won't it?
Yeah, definitely. And if you look at it as well, Arsenal going out the cup. We're obviously not going to end up meeting Liverpool this year, which is obviously a good thing. So in the cup, so if you look at it and you're thinking this might be a really good opportunity for us. I don't know what Chelsea are playing at the moment. I don't know what the score is in that, but so there may be a good opportunity to go on and actually win the tournament. So that'd be great. All right. So talking of the FA Cup now, David Moyes this week press conference. A bizarre time to really talk about this, considering he hasn't covered it in much detail with regards to his contract. So we're what are we now? I think we're about 12, 13 games off the end of the season, maybe a little bit less. And he's decided that he's going to comment on it now, because normally he just pans it straight out the water and we don't really get much on it. But this is what he said the other day about his contract. He said he's spoken with the chairman, and he wants to see how the team do. He wants to see how the team do in the Cup and the League, and it's more likely that he won't make a decision until the end of the season. He says that you can ask me this every single week and I'll probably give you the same answer. Now, what do you make of that, Mark, running one of the more Pony and Everton sites? Obviously, you're thinking about this kind of thing a lot. What do you make of Moyes' comments?
Well, to be honest, I want to really start to write an article about it and just get some of my thoughts down, but I was looking actually at Moyes' quote, and then I looked back at his quotes from last November, where in November he actually said, I'm going to wait, and I'm going to, I've spoken with Bill, blah, 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 I'm going to wait till after January to see how, whether we can keep hold of our bigger players and this and that, and then, but now he's come out on it, now he's saying, well, I'm going to wait till, the summer or say May and assess things then. So I'm thinking, well, what's he thinking after the January transfer window? Because initially he'd said, I'll assess things then. But now he's saying, well, I'm going to assess things at the end of the season. So, I mean, we've kept hold of our big players. But then will he wait and see, well, are they going to go in the summer? So is that going to be the big factor? Or now he's saying, I'm going to see how the team are going to get on. So it's like, I don't know really. I think a lot depends on if they can either get Champions League or win that FA Cup. I think ideally he'd win the FA Cup, and then I think he would leave anyway. I think because he wants to win something desperately, and that's his aim. But then on the other hand, if he don't win the FA Cup and he finishes in 4th place, he's not going to walk away then, surely, because he'll want to play in the Champions League with Everton next season. So it's a strange one, really, and it's worrying because I'm a big Moyes fan, as I'm sure every other Evertonian is, and I'd personally give him the job for life. But I know it's not going to work out like that, and it'll be, I think it's his 11th year, isn't it, this year? So maybe we'll just think, well, I have taken him as far as can go. If we finish 6th and he doesn't win the FA Cup, he'll probably just look at it and think, well, it's just another season within the Europa next season, but I'm going to go now, new challenge, and go on to different things. But then for me, the worry sets in. It's like, well, who's going to actually come in and do a good job with the budget on Everton? Who's going to take his place? That's where I start to worry.
Definitely, and I'll come round to that in a minute. We'll definitely talk about that. But is Moyes right to keep his options open? I know, obviously, he has a right to do that, but surely there is an argument there that he either wants to manage Everton or he doesn't, or is it not that straightforward?
I think he'd love to stay at the club. Yeah, I think so, but I see why he's waiting to assess things, because it's to the point now where it's like, well, it's like, are we going anywhere as a club? So it's the money thing. I know you've got the new TV money next season and things like that, but I can see why he's waiting, because he may just ultimately think, that's it, I've had enough. I can't take this club any further. I'm not going to get any more money to spend. We are going to lose maybe Fellaini. We'll know down the line whether that lad's going to go or not. Or I can't see Baines gone, but it's more likely Fellaini. But I think he does have a right to I know it's keeping the fans a bit worried and we're unsure, but really he's been at the club that long. He's going to leave someday, isn't it? And maybe he may just feel. It just a lot depends on what happens in the next 2 or 3 months, and if we can win silverware or qualify to the Champions League, he's going to assess things then, obviously. But he does have a right to wait to assess things, because he doesn't want to make any decisions. He might want a fresh challenge. He'd think, well, that's it now for Everton. I've been there 11 years. We've done this and we've done that. Unfortunately, I haven't won anything. But, I'm going to go on, and he's going to leave with a heavy heart. But I don't know really. It is worrying, and then, as I say earlier, I just begin to think, what does the future hold without Moyes?
Yeah, definitely, and that's the worry that I've got as an Evertonian. Obviously, I mean, I remember. I know we're in a different position, and people could argue that we're probably a bigger club than the likes of Charlton Athletic, but I just remember the the kind of impact that Alan Kirbysley had on Charlton. Now again, I know there'll be people probably saying, well, what you comparing us to Charlton for? Different situation, granted it is, but it's the same situation in the sense that Alan Kirbysley was the manager of Charlton for a long time, took them up to the Premier League. They did quite well whilst they were in the Premier League under him. He left and things caved in because I can't imagine anybody else really managing Everton. I was was it probably about 12, 13, maybe a little bit older when Moyes actually took the helm. So it's been kind of second nature to us now as Evertonians of this age bracket. In the 90s was a grim ass time. So he's come in and he's changed things around. So how important is David Moyes to Everton? If he left tomorrow, what do you think would happen? What could you envisage and seeing happen, Mark?
It's important over the last 10 years, well, even more than 10 years. It's been phenomenal, really. We're all like, I'm 27, and so I don't remember the glory days and things like that. But growing up, like the 90s and then the early 2000s, during like the Walter Smith time, and it was dire at times. It was really dire, and obviously relegation scraps and things like that. But Moyes took us out of that. I know we finished 17th in the second season, but since it's just been a model of consistency, and he's like instilled this like grit and determination around the club, and it's like that attitude: we'll get the best out of what we've got.
Yeah.
And that's what he's done. So then it comes down to, well, I've seen a few people on Twitter and things mentioning like Roberto Martinez. What about him? Well, fair enough. You can mention it. He might come and like make Everton football as it is, but he might come in and say, well, I can make Everton play fantastic football, because Wigan do play great football at times, but they're not a great side. And would Martinez get best out of the Everton players as Moyes has done?
No,
you know
that's
what I mean?
true.
So
that's true.
It's who do you go for? Do you go for someone like that, or a Loudruff who can come in and fancy football? But ultimately, it's about getting the best out of them players, because we're not going to go out and spend all sorts because of the financial situation. Moyes has worked well on a budget, and the homegrown lads, the likes of your Hibberts, the likes of Osman, he's utilised them, and he's utilised the likes of Phil Neville. He gets the best out of these players. If they think about it, Neville and Distan and that, the age of them at other clubs, they may have been finished years ago, but he's driven them on. He's getting the best out of what he's got, and he does get the odd signing like Morales, where he's allowed to spend a bit of money and things. But also it comes down to that as well. If you're given someone a few quid to spend, you've got to spend it wisely. You can't have a manager coming in who's just going out to get someone for their reputation or for the name. Moyes has done it with Kale and that. He's gone out on all the leagues, Jagielka. He's made them into internationals.
I'm with you.
It all comes down to getting the best out of them.
Definitely, and there's nobody can argue that he hasn't obviously done that. That's bred the success that we've had in the sense of, and again, you'll get people shouting at the screen now saying, well, we've not won a trophy under Moyes. We've got a pretty poor record away from home against the bigger sides, bar Manchester City. I don't think we've won anywhere under Moyes in terms of your Chelsea's, Liverpool's, Man United's away from home. Picked up a few points at Chelsea and the odd one at Anfield, but on the whole we've fared quite poorly against those sides. But apart from that, we as you said, you mentioned the 90s there. I remember going to Goodison a lot younger obviously than I am now, and seeing us under Kendall, the third stint of Kendall's management, I think it was in the end. Smith, terrible times to be an Evertonian. It was dreadful. So the impact that David Moyes has been unquestionable, obviously. But how much could we blame the board if he left, Mark, in your opinion?
We could blame the board, yeah. But would Moyes blame the board for his reasoning? I don't think so. But he's, let's not say he's happy to work on that budget, but he's accepted that fact, and he openly says his relationship with Ken Wright's great. He understands the situation of the club, and he gets on with it. You never see him crying about it, and he's just had to get on with it. But in terms of Evertonians, yeah, of course they would look at the board, because if things were different at Everton and Moyes had more money to spend and he wouldn't have to sell players in the past few years, then maybe we could have been on another level. Maybe we could have won a trophy during his tenure and things like that. Yeah. So I know for a fact Everton, a lot of Everton fans will point at the board, but really, who am I to say, well, you can't blame the board, because if the situation with the finances at Everton was different. It's all in hindsight, really, isn't it? I mean, if Moyes was given 20 million every transfer window and we didn't have to sell anyone, then maybe he would have won the FA Cup, maybe he would have won the bloody Premier League. But
yeah.
I don't know. For me, it's more about, I wouldn't be looking for someone to blame if Moyes leaves in the summer. I'd be more worried about who's going to come in.
Right.
They've got a lot to live. They've got a lot to live up to. Okay, Moyes hasn't won anything in the last 10 years, and you know, there's no silverware. You can't say, oh, Moyes has done this and Moyes has done that. But for me, the more important thing was he's actually galvanised the club. The way the situation he was 10 years ago, he's galvanised it, and he's made us into a force to be reckoned with. Which is just massive, really. It's made us. He's brought us, and without winning anything, he's just brought the club forward. I think, in terms of the way we play, the way we perform, you know, the way we're seen in the Premier League. But obviously, the finances is an issue, and a lot of people will question it. And you know, it'll be a big subject if he does eventually go.
Do you think he'll resign? Honestly, do you actually think he'll Do you actually think he'll resign? I mean, this is because when you just think of it like that, just simplify it. Do you actually think you don't?
I think if they win the FA Cup,
yeah,
he'll still go.
Yeah, because then he's got his trophy then, hasn't he? And he's like, right, I've won an FA Cup at Everton. It's time to move on now. Can't do any more.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't win the FA Cup, he'll still go. I think if he finishes in fourth place, he might stay. I think if he doesn't finish in fourth place and he doesn't win the FA Cup, he'll definitely go.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is because I just can't see him then preparing for another season. I think, like, we've got to go again and try and win the FA Cup, and then, you know, especially if we do lose Fellaini. So I think Fellaini's going to go myself personally in the summer. I think it's guaranteed that he will go. So there's other factors, and obviously I can't predict the future, but I think, yeah, either way, if he wins or doesn't win the FA Cup, he'll go. But if he finishes in the Champions League places, then there's a possibility he might stay and think, well, hang on, I'm gonna give this a good go.
Yeah. And
then he may go the season after. So deep down, I just think, I'm reading his quotes and I'm thinking, I just don't think he will resign. Unfortunately, obviously, as I said earlier, I'd love him to stay for life, but football, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it is really complex. Sorry to throw that on you, really, there, Mark, with that question. You know, do you think he'll resign? Because if you think about it, it is so complex. Also, it depends externally. So the clubs around him now, David Moyes, to me, doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who's going to take a little bit of time out of football. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's just going to go and hit the golf course for a year or so. So it depends on where he can go now. From what we believe, Alex Ferguson isn't planning on stepping down at United. Chelsea, is Moyes a little bit too switched on and not affected by the bright lights? You know, he's a man of his word on the whole. He's quite respectable in that sense, quite noble in the sense of, you know, the way he carries himself. Could you see him really going to somewhere like Chelsea where it can turn into a little bit of a circus, where he knows that he has 3 or 4 games where he's lost 3 or 4 games, or the results haven't gone quite his way, and then all of a sudden people are barking at the door saying, you know, it's time to let this guy go. Arsenal could be one. Maybe it's time for Wenger to move on, but they seem so enriched with Arsene Wenger at that club in terms of the hierarchy. I don't know if that would happen. So, you know, maybe abroad. I don't know what the situation is at Dortmund at the moment. That keeps on getting mentioned quite a bit. So where could you see him going?
I know, that's it really. I can't see the Chelsea thing happening at all. I just don't think. Okay, Chelsea could do a job down there, and you know they've got money to spend and things, but it doesn't necessarily mean it'd work out for Moyes. But I just think the relationship, the way I've done it, has so much power down there. I don't think that would work at all. I don't think he'd go for it. United is the obvious one. Yeah. I think he'd go to United, and United would have him. I think he'd do well there, to be honest. It pains me to say it, but he probably would. I agree about that. There's no one else really in the Premier League. If there's not going to go to Newcastle, Villa, anyone like that, it'd be a step backwards. Yeah,
exactly. It doesn't look like Moyes. It doesn't look like ABV is going to be on his way at Tottenham. They seem to be doing fairly well at the moment, quite content and happy with him.
Arsenal, yeah, as you say about Wenger, but Wenger's time eventually will come. I'm sure their fans weren't happy about that result yesterday. So that's another club. I mean, it's a well-run club, Arsenal, but they do still sell players, and there still is certain things that's not right with certain ownership, and the fans aren't happy because they don't spend that much money. But I think United the most realistic one. Arsenal to a lesser extent, but Chelsea I don't think no chance. You've got the likes of Celtic, you've got like Dortmund, and Germany. Germany is a fantastic league, isn't it? And it's getting better and better.
I mean, he's already cited that, hasn't he, Mark? He's already said recently, "I'd like to manage in Germany one day." So, I mean, if he did go, so I'm sure there'd be clubs out there. There would be clubs if he did become available, you get a few surprise names. I think making approaches, and you've got ambitious clubs all over Europe now as well. I think you've got rich owners and things. His name would be in demand, I think. I mean, I know he hasn't won anything, as I said before, but it's just when people speak of Moyes in football, they speak highly of him, and he is massively respected. I think he'd be in high demand, and it'd be hard to watch as an Evertonian. Definitely.
Clubs all vying for his signature, and you'd be like, oh.
Yeah.
But really, if football moves on, and if it did come to it, we'd have to just forget about Moyes. Obviously, he's a hero. He'd go as a hero, but we'd have to forget about him and move on as a club ourselves. But it's where do you go after that?
Yeah, it might sound a little bit negative of me, but I've got this vision of Steve Round stepping in and us just that, or because Dave Jones is big mates with Ken Wright, someone like that, and it'd just be oh mate, and then it'd just be a return to the 90s. But listen, that's the pessimist in it. I try and stay fairly positive, so yeah, it's not worth thinking about.
It'd be strange, really. I'm thinking from my seat in the ground, looking down the touchline to see someone like, I don't know, like Martinez or bloody Nick McCarthy, someone that'd be tragic, like getting him.
Oh, can you imagine?
Another manager
Mark
standing
Hughes.
there where I know, it's like,
yeah.
I just can't picture it. It's because I've sort of grown up and I've known, although it's within 10 years, it's just because it's such a long time, you're used to Moyes, you just think he's always going to be there, but realistically, one day that's going to change, and
of course,
it's massive. It's going to be massive, isn't it, really, that decision that he makes in the summer? It's going to be huge for the club. And I'll just hope the players pull a finger out. They can just keep going, because they've had a cracking first half of the season. So to blow it all now would be a disaster.
I agree, and it seems like this season every single game there's so much pressure attached to it, because it's the added thing if you're thinking forward and you're thinking, right, we need to can we just try and kick on and get that fourth place? So every time you lose, or we haven't lost that often, obviously every time we've got another draw, you look at the table and we're trying to work it out, how far off we are fourth at the moment. Obviously we keep continuously looking over our shoulder as well because of the teams around us, so it just feels like there's so much pressure attached to every single game this season. I don't know whether that's just me or not, but so just finally, just to wrap it up then, we've kind of covered it a little bit, but who would be your first choice then in terms of a replacement?
Oh Jesus, you put me on the spot there.
I know, mate, I'm sorry, I've done it again, haven't I?
God, I haven't even done any revision. I honestly don't know if the likes of Martin O'Neill was available and stuff, and that old thing with Sunderland and come up, someone like that, you'd think, well, he'd come in and, a hard-working manager.
Yeah.
But the way he's gone at Sunderland, he lifted them, and now they've gone pretty fairly average now. So it's like, who is out there? You would have to look around, and you've got some jokers in the league, like the likes of Pardew and that, and I don't really know. I honestly don't know off the top of my head. I mean, you've got the likes of Malky Mackay in the Championship.
Yeah, maybe we would have to have a little look down there and see if there's anybody around that.
Probably. I'm thinking through the Premier League managers now, and there's just no one who particularly stands out. I think, oh yeah, he's good or he's great, but I think a young British, like Moyes was at Preston, a young British manager like in Mackay's, you'd have to go into the lower leagues, I think. I really don't know.
No, fair enough, mate. I've put you on the spot.
I know who wouldn't want. You've got that many jokes and managers, haven't you?
Yeah.
like I've just mentioned, Pardew, and you've got the likes of I don't like Tony Pulis and the likes of Hughes and the likes of Neil Warnock, people like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them anywhere near my club, but it's difficult, really. I'd have to go away and I'll have to come back to you on that one. Right?
All right then, Mark. No, listen, I appreciate your time. To anybody watching this, obviously all the subscribers and the followers to Talking Toffee, get over to Mark's site, efcfeelingblue.com. He's looking at the moment for people to contribute as well, so always open to people sending in articles. Again, with regards to this vlog, you can leave your comments, like, subscribe, share on Twitter below. Mark, thanks for chatting to me today.
Okay.
Go easy, mate. Bye-bye.
Okay, take it easy.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.